Welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. I was hoping that we could be talking about a slightly more positive result, but it's another defeat for Wolves, leaving us once again at the foot of the table. 5 points adrift already, just 8 games into the Premier League season. And my name is David Zappardi. Alongside me today, we've got Mr. Jordan Russell and Joe Parker from Concept Scouting. Joe, it is good to have you back. Unfortunately, it's not on better circumstances. It's been a while. Have you done a main pod this year so far? I can't think.
Yeah, I've done one, I think. It's. I don't think I have done a main pod. I think we did the transfer
Yeah,
pod,
didn't
didn't we? But I don't think we've done a kind of match review. But obviously, I had a toothache last Sunday, and that was the second most painful thing I've gone through this week after 3 p.m. yesterday.
Oh no, it's good to have you back. Toothache, there's not much there's not much worse than that. To be fair,
I'd argue there probably is something
oh
to
yeah,
the
there
worst.
probably
But
is.
I've been saying this all week. There's nothing worse, and everyone keeps saying, "What about heart attack?
Yeah.
What about
What about watching Wolves lose 2-0 at the stadium?
Yeah. No, it was chronic. To be fair, it was bad. Don't get me wrong. I always thought my pain threshold was quite high. It turns out it's not. It's unbelievable. It was one at the back as well, which when you're trying to eat, it's just painful. So I think I lasted about 12 hours before I just went to the dentist and had it ripped out.
What was it, like an abscess or something?
No, it was an infection, and it was either I could have had a root canal on it, but it was either have a root canal on a tooth at the back and pay, because I went private, so it would have been £2,000 to have a new one put in, or just have it took out. So I was like, rip that out. Don't need that one.
Yeah,
that's one less. All good.
Jord, good to have you back as well, mate. How you been keeping?
Yeah, good. It's been a few weeks actually since. I think it feels a while just because of the international break as well. But I missed the last two because I went to the NFL in Dublin and then the Brighton game. I I just started a new job and so the timings were a little bit weird. But yeah, no, so it's been a while since us three have been on a pod. But I just wish it was in better circumstances, but it isn't. So let's try and do as good a pod as we possibly can, I think.
Yeah, no, it's always difficult because as people that listen regularly, we always try and take things as they are, but like try and put a little bit of a positive spin on things. It's very, very hard to do that when you're still winless 8 games into the Premier League season. We're recording this as well. It's quite strange on a Sunday morning, so we can get on, have our final say, I suppose, and get on with the rest of try and enjoy the rest of our weekends as well. But Sunderland 2, Wolves 0. A game I think we knew it was going to be fairly tough going into with how Sunderland had started the season. But I think deep down everyone knows this game and the game next week against Burnley were matches that Vitor Pereira and Wolves really needed to get points from. Joe, in terms of the starting lineup, it's probably, with the players available, pretty similar to the team I expected. I thought that Doc would come back in for right back with him being back. And then it was a toss-up sort of between Rodrigo Gomez and Fer Lopez to replace Hwang. Any other changes that you think should have been made, or do you think that was probably the expected lineup?
I don't know. I've been quite vocal the last few weeks. I think Jurgen Strand-Larsen's off it a little bit. So I think personally there could have been an argument that Tolu came in. Tolu's had some game time, I think, during the international break. So it was always going to be a toss-up between the two of them, and I don't think retrospectively that change would have made any difference anyway. But I think the midfield was the midfield I'd have gone with. I know a lot of people are anti Marshall Monetzi, but I think even yesterday was still one of the players with more impetus on the pitch than anybody else. He was the one that was picking the ball up and carrying it or getting on the end of things, which is a bit of a shame because there's not generally any quality on the end of it. But from an engine perspective, that's exactly what I'd have gone with. I think the back four, I'm a fan of Chachua, and I think he gets us on the front foot. We'll go into the substitutions, I'm sure, but the Doherty's a steady head. I'm not a fan of how we've conceded the goal because I think that's largely we could have mitigated that. But yeah, I think from a starting lineup perspective, it almost picks itself to a large degree now.
Yeah, no, I agree. We started off quite brightly as well. I think the first 10 minutes or so, we started off quite well. It was unfortunately that sort of spell between the 10th and the sort of 20th minute where Sunderland sort of grew back into the game, and that's where they got the opening goal, really. But Jord, I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, you look at the match stats. I think if you were a neutral and you hadn't watched the game, you look at the stats, you think, oh, Wolves were probably quite unlucky there. But Sunderland sort of did what they needed to do. They did the basics right. They took the chance when it came to them. They didn't, although they did make a few errors, they didn't make any stupid errors that led to sort of clear-cut opportunities. I mean, what was your take on the game overall? I mean, because again, for Wolves, especially in the final third, despite us having 16 shots, just 3 of those on target. I think 9 of those are outside the area. Just really, really struggling to create anything to threaten the opposition on a regular basis.
Yeah, I want to be more constructive than this sentence, but we're just not good enough, is the truth, in the final third in those forward areas to create anything or even be, I'd say, carve teams open. I think we're just blunt. We're really blunt. There's a lack of quality there. And we knew losing someone of Mateus Cunha's profile, we knew losing Aitnery, we knew losing Semedo, it'd have a big impact on how this team defends the box, but also how we attack as well. And we just haven't replaced it with enough quality ultimately. And I think people have been clamouring for Rodrigo Gomez to start games. I think he's infectious. I think he works hard, but I don't think he's that good, honestly. And I think he looks good because he runs around a lot. And I'm not saying he's a bad footballer by any means, but people clamouring for him to come in and thought that'd solve all the problems. It just didn't. I thought he lacked quality yesterday at certain times. And then when you've got Arias, who his best game for me was Tottenham away. That second half, especially where he was floating around the pitch, he was picking up the ball in all different positions, and he was just a nuisance and a threat.
Yeah.
And then Brighton, he sort of stuck out wide. And then even against Sunderland, I thought it was really ineffective. So I think we can clearly see that possibly, of the people that are starting in the 11, if we're going to create anything or do anything, it's through John Arias. And again, he has been very underwhelming from what we thought we were getting in the summer. I don't disagree with that. But if you want to get more creative and you want to be more of a potent attack, I think we need to get him involved in the patterns of play more. I think he needs to be playing more centrally. I think he needs to be getting closer to Larsson, because Larsson as well, like, I mean, I think he probably wishes he was a bit of more of a dickhead now in the summer and threw his toys out the pram and got the move, because what I'm seeing is Strand Larsson, even when that bid come in at 60 million quid, I think he's a very, very good finisher. I don't think he's the finished article as a footballer, and I don't necessarily think he's in that top echelon of player, and that money was a lot of money for him at the time. And watching him last few games, and I think Joe's got a point. I don't think he's fit. I still don't think he's fit.
I think Vitor said that on Friday. He's not. They've still got to watch him. But I think he played the full 90 yesterday, didn't he?
He's miles off it, and you've brought a striker for the best part of 25 million quid who's sitting on the bench. And again, like I said on the pod when I was last on here, the fact that he scored 20 plus goals in Belgium the last 2 years, it's good, but like, people from the Belgian league don't necessarily always transfer over to the Premier League. But he hasn't been given a chance, and he's coming on when we're chasing football games, we're lumping balls up to the pitch to him, and I know people are writing him off already, but like, he can't be any worse than what Strand Larsson's offering up at the minute. And I think this week now is massive, because we've played a back 5, we played a back 4, and I think in the back 4 we look better overall in the last 3 games. I know yesterday was shy, but he's got to come up with I don't want to sound like Nuno, he's got to come up with a solution quick, because if he doesn't win against Burnley, as much as I like Vitor Pereira, there is no way you can keep him in this job. There's just no chance. There's no way. So something needs to change this week at Compton. But I think watching that game, we just ran out of ideas really quickly, and we resorted to, for me, pub tactics, lump it ball forward, try and win a second ball, and try and get a bit lucky. And that should be happening at Premier League level, not for a team that's been in the league 7 years. Like, we should be better than that.
Yeah, there's a lot to pick from what you've said, to be fair. I think, you even look at, I think next week is massive for Vitor Pereira with the Burnley game, because I think even we know how long Gary O'Neill sort of lasted, and probably sort of, stayed a little bit longer than he should have. But the reason he managed to keep his job there were certain games, such as the Southampton game, where he managed to get a win and sort of keep his job and get a little bit more momentum that way. Whereas if you go into next week and don't win, Vitor would have already lost to all 3 of the newly promoted sides straight away, which were, no disrespect to those teams, probably 3 games Wolves fans would have earmarked as games to get points out of. So that is a concern. And 2 of those would have been at home as well. Rodrigo Gomez, I think, I agree with you. I think in terms of he's just his end product, it needs to improve. I think he can run with the ball. He knows where he wants to go. But yesterday was a couple of times where he sort of got into the sort of area of the penalty box and thought, what now? What do I need to do now? Or what can I do now?
That chance he had in the second half, Dave, sorry. When he shifted it onto his left and hit it over the bar, he got the ball. He's one-on-one with the defender, and he got the ball in that position just on the edge of the box, and he didn't know what he was doing.
No.
He actually generally, he didn't drop a shoulder or try and beat a man. He got the ball there and he's like, shit, what do I do now? And he tried to shift it on his left and he just smashed it over the bar. Like, that ain't good enough.
Yeah. I think just the decision making in general in the final third, just in terms of the quality of crosses, either they played it aerially when it should have been on the deck, or on the deck when they probably should have put some height on it. The power of some of the crosses was just all wrong. John Arias, I mean, they talk about corners. I know he's going to get a lot of stick for his corners again. I still think that's partly down to a training ground thing. I think that Vitor wants him and he's asking him to sort of aim for the near post. And again, I didn't think it was a good game for him yesterday. I've seen glimpses of him, but that's not enough. We do need to see more. And I don't know whether it's the Fluminense fans or the Club World Cup. And he has played a lot of football this year, full stop. With Brazil, their season started in January, so he would have been playing a lot of football right up until his move. I don't know if we've sort of been sold a little bit of a dream with him. I really hope he comes good, but at the moment, I don't know if he's being used in the wrong way, Joe, with Jean Arias, or we're just not getting the same player that maybe Wolves scouts and the recruitment team would have seen playing out in Brazil.
I think it's a combination of things. The corner thing, I've watched him quite a bit. I've never seen him take a corner like that in Brazil, so that leads me to believe that's a tactical coaching element of it. If the other argument would be, if he's going to continue to deliver corners like that off his own back, you take him off corners. So he continues to take them. So he's obviously been coached or instructed to do that. And when you watch the runs on corners, you can see that's an instruction to do that. I think he's not a right winger. He's not a hug the touchline type player. George, right? He's got to be involved in play. He's got to be kind of touch tight to players, hold the ball up, play the ball off, spin, and that's how he plays. And I've not seen him do that once, other than in the second half against Tottenham, as George says. So we're not using him in the right way, which isn't overly surprising because we don't use a lot of our players in the right way. We don't play to their strengths. We play to some kind of combination of what Vitor wants and what the squad's capable of. Whereas with John Arias, he's not a 10, but he can play in any of these positions. But the way we play doesn't help him. We've played a 5, we've played a 4, we've played a 3. He's come into games, he's come out of games, he's started games, he's not started some games. From a technical perspective, he's the first player on the team sheet. Him and Krejci, to me, are the two most technically gifted players we have. We are not using him in the right way whatsoever. I would fully expect him to be not in the team next week or the week after, because we'll bring in potentially Bellegarde or Hwang back in, and we'll kind of take him out the firing line. But for me, he's got to be starting games, and we need to be building around him. That being said, I don't think Strand Larsen's on form at all. I don't think he's doing much to contribute to the team offensively. I think it's great that he's coming back and defending corners and man marking Dan Ballard, but are we in a position as a club 7-8 years into the Premier League where we should be conceding our style to the point that we put our number 9 on a centre back on corners, and when the ball comes back out, there's no one to pick it up? I find tactically, even if you look at how we're using Rodrigo Gomez, George example there, he's a wing back. He's been signed as a wing back, and we're playing him on the left wing stroke left number 10, depending on whether we're in or out of possession, because we have no one else. And that's not on him. That's not on, and I know George's not getting at that. George's getting at the fact that that's not his game. That's not how he plays. That's not his position. That's not, he'll do anything. Rodrigo Gomez is the kind of player you can stick him in midfield. You can stick him centre back. He'll try his best wherever he is, and that's valiant. But it's not what we need at this point of where we are in our Premier League, in inverted commas, journey. We should be in a much better position than we are. And for me, people disagree with this, but obviously we're short of an 8. We're probably short of a player in the front line, but otherwise, I think the squad's more than capable in a 14th, 15th. With the right. When I look at West Ham will finish considerably above us on the basis that the manager will drag them up the league. Nuno will get them to where they need to be. Sunderland have topped Southampton's points total from last season already off the back of beating us yesterday. And I wouldn't say Sunderland's team is. It's there's a lot of knackers in that squad. That Omar Alderete is a decent centre back that looks like he looks similar to how Murillo looked last season. And obviously Murillo's been found out this season to a degree, just on the basis of the style that they play. They press high at home. They try and win the game. They're on the front foot. They'll kick you. They'll push you. They've got Xhaka in the middle midfield. He'll dominate things. We don't have that. It looks great with João Gomez Andre in midfield, but yesterday they got absolutely overrun massively.
Yeah,
and not through anything technical. I thought they were both well below par yesterday, and they've been probably our 2 best players, I would say, this season so far in a team of underperformers. But the style that we play, I couldn't tell you from game to game what our style is, what our identity is. And I remember we spent years watching Nuno's team, and we'd have a fixed system that was sometimes poor to watch, sometimes it was great to watch, but the system was the same. The method and the tempo that we played with varied. I remember Man City at home. I remember all these games where we could play on the counter-attack. Man City away, we could switch up the style, but the personnel would remain the same. And at the moment now, the personnel changes from game to game. We don't know what the starting 11 is going to be. He says, having said that the starting 11 picks itself, but I don't know who's going to come in next week. I don't know who's going to drop out. I don't know if he's going to play a back 3 and Mosquera and Agbadou come in. I don't know if Jose Sarr's randomly going to start next week. I don't know if Chichu is going to play at right back. I don't know if David Muller-Wolf comes back from the darkness to start a game. There's no pattern to anything. This is comfortably the worst I've seen us in the Premier League, and that's no kind of credit to Gary O'Neill or Bruno Lage or any of those guys, but at least offensively, we always looked like we could score a goal. But these last 2 or 3 games, we've scored a couple, but we're not creating chances left, right, and centre. And again, no offence to Sunderland, they did well yesterday, but they'll still be down there. They'll still be bottom 5.
Yeah,
they're a team that we should be competing with, and I'm sure we'll come on to the goal, but the goal's laughable, really, from a defensive perspective.
Yeah, I think, and I mentioned this yesterday, I think with Sunderland, they made the mistakes of their own, but ultimately what they did was when we made mistakes, and this has been the case throughout the whole season, when we made errors, they punished us for them. They did the basics right, they defended pretty well, and then, when they make mistakes, we couldn't capitalise on them, and that's been the story of the season, really, for us, and that's why we're down at the bottom end of the table, and that's why Sunderland have started off so brightly. We'll touch on the goals now. Nordi Mukiele, who I actually thought had a pretty good game. We were sort of fighting fire with them a little bit with the long throw-ins. I had him on the long throws. Rodrigo Gomez, surprisingly, on the long throws for us. But Jord, for me, the goal, it's avoidable because I think the way he just sort of runs past 3 Wolves players, barely getting tracked, and is able to still get the ball in the back of there. I think Johnson's going to be very disappointed. I think he's got to get more of his body weight behind the ball and, stop that from going in, give him a chance to stop that from going in. But I think from a defensive point of view, and we could talk about the Krejci one as well. That's just, misfortune on the counter-attack, I suppose. But that first goal for me is frustrating and avoidable.
It's disgraceful. There's no other ways about it. You can talk about tactics, you can talk about the manager, you can talk about the players on the pitch. The goal that we can see, that first goal, is on the players on the pitch, not busting the gut and being lazy, not taking any accountability, not taking any ownership. Just track your fucking runner. It was like a training ground drill. He's played a 1-2, and by the way, it's not like a intricate, delicate 1-2. Troy Humes put his foot on the ball and then passed it back to him, and he's just toe punted it through Johnson's legs. And again, people are going to criticise Johnson for not being able to save it. Yeah, he should do better with it. I think he'll be disappointed he shouldn't save it, but it ain't on Johnson that goal's gone in.
You've still got to protect him, haven't you?
What are they doing? If I was playing in that team on a Saturday or a Sunday at pub level, whatever, I'd be going absolutely bananas. I'd be wanting to drag people. I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's basics, football basics. You can understand. We maybe haven't got the technical ability of what we've had in yesteryear with some of our Premier League squads, but that goal is nothing about technical ability. That goal is about taking some ownership, taking some accountability, and just track your man.
Yeah,
it was so simple. It's basic, and it's rubbish. Like, it's rubbish. Yeah, I don't want to get too angry at the moment. I will do later on. I'm trying to save my voice a little bit as well, but it's rubbish. There's no accountability there, and you can blame the manager for certain things, and rightly so. But that's about the players on the pitch. Just fucking follow your man. And the second goal is what I said, I think, on the last pod. Like, the most concerning thing for me a month ago watching this Wolves team was that we looked doomed after the Leeds game. This was, we looked doomed. We looked like we were in trouble, and we hadn't started conceding daft, silly goals you do when you're at the bottom of the table. That yesterday, that second goal is one of those daft, silly goals you concede when you're at the bottom of the table and everything's going against you.
Yeah.
And again, you can't legislate for that. Like, it's a breakaway. Krejci's overstretching, trying to make a decision because they're breaking on us, and it's the 93rd minute. Like, you can't really even. For me, you can't break that goal down and go, we should have done this better, should have done that better. Look, you're chasing the game. That they've broke on us and it's happened. But like I say, when you looks out, that those are the goals you concede. And yeah, like, I think, yeah, I'm abject. I don't know what to say about the second. I just don't know what to say about it, honestly. I'm sorry, but it's just the second goal's unlucky. The first goal is utterly wank.
Yeah,
wank.
The frustration is, and I sort of go back to some of the points that you guys said about the ability to break forward and create opportunities. For whatever reason, Vitor is sort of, I mean, again, we don't know who has the full control in terms of recruitment, but we assume Vitor has quite a big say on that. But for whatever reason, over the last two windows, I'm including January in this, he's sort of gone with this more physical approach over players that are, let's say, technically gifted. I mean, there were some reports, if you want to believe him, in the summer in regard to him wanting players that are able to sort of beat their man and get round their man and, and drive the team forward. I think Fer Lopez potentially has the ability to do that, but we haven't seen enough of that, and he hasn't really been given many minutes. But the physical element of things, Joe, I think that holds us back massively. I mean, you got Strand Larsen, who you mentioned, you got Tolu, Monetti's there. Defensively, he's brought some big boys in as well. But I mean, even yesterday when Tolu came on, you would think, right, let's get the ball to the wingers and try and get into the area. But I thought we were even worse when we brought him on, because the game plan just almost went out the window.
And I think he's mentioned that, hasn't he, in his press conference, which I think to a degree he's right on. But what there's two parts to that. If you bring in Tolu on and keep him up top with Strand Larsen, then the players need to know that this is we're just putting two men up. We're not going direct. They need to know what the style of play is. We're bringing Fer Lopez on because we need to retain the ball and carry it, which makes perfect sense. But I'm really lost at the substitution of bringing Tolu on and bringing Fer Lopez on, because if it lasts 5-10 minutes of a game, which the subs are way too late. The Kiana Hoover sub was bizarre, and then bringing Chachua on 10 minutes later in front of him was even more bizarre. I don't get that whatsoever. That's yeah, whatever. But bringing Fer Lopez on, I think, was the right sub. Bringing Tolu on was the right sub, in which case you say, get the ball to Fer Lopez. He's fresh. He can carry the ball. But we didn't do that. We did lump the ball to Tolu to a degree, but I can't even say we did that particularly well. But we maybe lumped it 2 or 3 times, and obviously we had the Chachua chance off the back of the flick on, I think, from Tolu, which worked okay. But I don't think we were one or the other, which I wouldn't mind. If you go in direct, sound, not a problem at all. Go direct, absolutely fine. Fer Lopez, you could argue, could go direct as well. He's a big lad. He's not, he's not 5'4", is he? But I don't think we were really doing anything in particular, and I think that carries itself through the game. It comes back to my previous point. I don't know what we are or what our style is or what we're supposed to do. And I think having watched 9 games this season, I think no fan could really say what our style is. Are we a direct team? I don't think we are. We're playing out from goal kicks when we're 1-0 down with 10 minutes left. We're with 2 big lads on the pitch. So we've got 2 number 9s on who've scored best part of 40 goals between them last season. And in the last 10 minutes, Sam Johnson's rolling the ball out to Krejci. And Sunderland press, as they do, push themselves up the pitch, in which case Tolu and Strand Larsen have got to go with them. And there's no long ball option anyway.
Yeah.
So the style and the patterns and the tempo, I can imagine. I don't want to speak for the players. I'll be able to speak for themselves, no doubt, when he's gone, when he inevitably does go. But I think looking at them, they look confused to me. I don't think they know what they're supposed to be doing. Looking at John Arias, we've talked about him, but it's a good example. I don't think he really knows what's being asked of him. He's not receiving the ball to feet. He's not receiving the ball in behind. He's not, there's no particular style. And you look at Sunderland, it's not pretty. And the ball was in play for probably about 12 minutes yesterday. Taking into consideration 30 seconds every single time they had a long throw in. But they've got a style of play, and they'll keep them up this season.
Yeah.
Because at the cost of the expense of clubs like us who don't have a style.
Mm. Yeah, there's nobody at the moment in this team, and I mean, love him or hate him, Matheus Cunha, he could grab the game by the scruff of the neck and change the game completely, and he could sometimes win games on his own. We do not have that one bit, and I'm not saying that I'm expecting any of our players or any other signings to be technically as gifted as what Matheus Cunha was, but ultimately there's no one in that team and no one from the list of signings that we've made that are able to do that. I mean, yesterday, like I said, I don't think Sunderland were miles better than Wolves, but like I've already said, they did what they needed to do to win the football match. But I think if Wolves had one of those types of players there, or one of those types of players, similar to what Rodrigo Gomez was doing in terms of bringing the ball up the pitch, but actually able to produce something at the end of it, we could be having a different conversation now. But that's the issue for me. I think the recruitment. And I'll hold my hands up. I said, let's judge the window towards the end. I know we like to do our business quite late, but the recruitment has been wrong, I think, in terms of the profiles of players. I don't mean the football players that we've got are particularly bad footballers, but the profiles of players are completely wrong at the moment. And I'd be very, very interested to see if Vitor does go or he's moved on or whatever, who would come in and what they could do with this football team, because I think they're low on confidence. They don't have any idea of what they want to do. And it almost needs somebody else to look at this squad, a fresh set of eyes, and say, right, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. And it might just all fall into place. But at the moment, for whatever reason, George, it's not working out.
Yeah, I think the recruitment, again, I know we spoke about it on here because there's a lot of people clamouring about the transfer window or the urgency within the transfer window. And again, I think we're all accountable for saying, well, let's judge it at the end. And I think actually once the window's shut, barring maybe another centre midfield option, I think we're all fairly comfortable that we've to some extent replaced what went out the door in terms of not. I think from a profile of player, obviously less a profile of player, I would say, but we were quite comfortable with the business they'd done. I think that for me, Vitor's biggest, there's a few things he's got wrong. First of all, within his transfer policy, I think he's basically surrendered the fact that we could be a good footballing team on the basis of some of the players we lost, and he's gone for a certain profile of player. And I think what you and Joe have both said in this podcast is actually, fair. I think the squad's better than what we're offering right now, 100%. But we're in games and we're watching football matches, and you can look at the Spurs and Brighton game within this as well, where we go 1-0 up. Let's go just talk about Brighton. Like, we had a couple of chances. Brighton were poor against us that day.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of chances to kill the game. Arias should have scored. Strand Larsen's at the post. 58th minute, when we're on top, or felt like we were still on top in the game a little bit, or at least had a counter punch. Takes Wang off, puts centre half in, and we're just sitting in and just reverting to, again, call it Sunday pub football tactics. It was just like we was going to feed off scraps and we're just going to lump the ball forward, play for territory, and it was for me. It shows a lack of confidence that the coaching staff and the manager got in the squad of players he's got. But to flip that as well, probably shows a lack of confidence the players now on the pitch have got, and the management and the coaching staff, that they don't believe in us to go and hold our own here. So look, we've dropped 4 points in those 2 games. Excuse me, between Spurs and Brighton. Another thing I think he's got massively wrong. I tweeted about yesterday, the captaincy. So you made Totti your captain, and I think we can all say that Totti had a good end of the season last season. But he's a very flawed footballer, and I think Gaetneri bailed him out because he's not the best on the ball, but I think physically he's a good man-to-man defender, personally. You make him captain, you quite clearly can't play in a back 4, or it can't be one of the 2 in a back 4, or at least that's what the management think. So they've dropped him. So your captain, you've announced in the summer, is now on your bench, can't even get in the squad, can't even get on the pitch. And then Jackson Chichua, for me, was probably our best player against Brighton. I know he sort of switched off a little bit for the goal, maybe you could say, but he dealt with Minter one-on-one unbelievably well. I thought he had an unbelievable game, but then because Doherty's fit and he needs to put a leader on the pitch, Chichua's been dropped when he was probably the best player on the pitch against Brighton. So for me, again, as a player in that squad, or looking around, going, well, how's that fair? How's that right? I've got nothing against Doherty, by the way, but like. So that's, again, it's confusion in itself. And I just think they've got it completely wrong. And Jeff, again, I know we'll probably talk about the ownership a bit later on, but Jeff coming out and saying we've had a good window, like trying to kid fans, you've had a good window. Like, I know that interview was taken maybe a month ago or so, we recorded that podcast, maybe a bit longer now, but you can't tell me it's a good window. We're rock bottom, and we're well adrift. And I think... Personally, I know we're recording this on Sunday, so we don't know what it'll look like after this weekend. I fully expect West Ham to beat Brentford on Monday night, so they'll pull up away from us again as well. So we're going to be like 5-6 points adrift of safety, like 8 games in, and you can talk about Burnley being like a must-win. It absolutely is a must-win. I think if we don't win, I think I don't want to say we're doomed or we're down because I don't want to be positive, but I think we are. But the problem is, like, if you said to every Wolves fan, Premier League fan right now, right, who out of the promoted 3 are the worst out of the 3? I think everyone would clearly say Burnley. I think would say probably Burnley, although they've got an identity under Scott Parker.
They beat Leeds yesterday, didn't they, as well?
But that's what I was going to come to, Joe. Like, Burnley have beat Leeds and they beat Sunderland, 2 teams we've lost to. So what chance have we got? Like, you can't. I think Fosen massively put the eggs in the basket of the promoted teams keep coming up in the shit. So we've just got to be mediocre to stay up. No one can legislate and account for what's happened this year, but like I said, Burnley have gone to beat Leeds and Sunderland. Sunderland have beat West Ham, Brentford, Wolves at home. Leeds have gone and beat us. They've picked up points at home as well. They're all picking up points against teams in and around sort of probably 14th to 20th that'll finish. Like, we're not picking points up. Like, and if we don't beat Burnley, looking at the next 5-6 fixtures without putting any sort of doom and gloom on it, I don't look at any one of those single fixtures going, we'll get a result there. We'll pick up a result, and it's honestly like it's abject. Like this, I almost feel like the season's it's not over yet, but it does feel like that. This feels way worse than Gary O'Neill last year. This, to me, at the moment, I feel like this is when the team, the state of the team, the affinity to the club, the atmosphere from fans, the atmosphere in the ground, just the rottenness of the ownership. This is on par, if not worse, of when Terry Connor was our caretaker manager after McCarthy, and that team was a car crash. I think this team's a car crash.
It's mad though, because I think if you look individually, I think this team is way better than I know football's changed massively, but this team is way better than that team. It
is on paper, but I think you look at Andre and Gomez, and again I slagged them off after Leeds, and again I know Joe pointed out a little bit earlier on his podcast, they were shite yesterday.
Yeah,
and it's not an ability thing with them two, because we've said they're in conversations of being. Last year, I was saying that arguably could go up against toe-to-toe against most midfields in the Premier League, if not in European football. There's a 2. Like, I think they just had all the belief and self-confidence just battered and beaten out of them. Like what? Like they shouldn't be losing a midfield battle. In all due respect to what Sunderland put out there yesterday. And again, I like Granit Xhaka. I think Xhaka's been a good player, and he's a good player, solid. We shouldn't be getting overrun in midfield with Andre and Gomez away at Sunderland.
Especially with three in there, especially with Munetsi in there as well. You know,
it should not. It should happen. And again, you can talk about the ownership. You can talk about the management. The ownership have been shite for years. The manager has got it massively wrong now for the last 6 months. Some of the players on the pitch have got to take accountability as well. And there's no excuse for me that you're not asking Andre and Gomez to do anything differently than what they've done when they come to the club. Like, you should be winning that midfield battle. Like, get some bollocks. Fucking roll your socks up and fight and battle for this team. I just think they don't want to be here. And I don't blame them, by the way, but I think they've jacked it.
I think it's easy these days, isn't it, with players? And you've seen it with Strand Larson. You know, we struggled last season. He's done well. He's had a good season. But obviously, his first thought at the end of the season is, as soon as an offer comes in, I'm off. And obviously that, you know, if Newcastle probably would have put the money up, he would have gone, and he was happy to go. Yet he's still our starting number 9. And I think because it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way that players now come in. If you're Ruben Neves or Joe Moutinho or Rui Patricio or any of those players that came in for the project of we're gonna try and hit the ceiling, which is what, and in fairness to Fosun and the club, when during that Nuno period, we absolutely reached our ceiling and beyond and smashed through it. But those players, everyone that came in during that era could see we're part of a project. We can see where we're going. There's a 3-year plan here as a minimum for me at this club, and we know where we're going. Whereas now, if you take Tolo as an example, he's come into a club that has struggled pre-Christmas every season for the last 3 or 4 years, really, and beyond to a degree. So he's come in knowing, and he will absolutely be thinking this way. For this footballer's thing, he's thinking, I'll go and play in the Premier League. I'll get some minutes. Absolute worst case, they, as in the club, go down, and I'll get a move. That's how players think now, coming to the Wolves. Whereas when we took the Ruben Neveses and even the Netos and those lights kind of fairly late into the process, they weren't coming for the big move. They were coming because they could see the growth with the club. And yeah, there might be a move in 3 years' time. Look where those players have gone. Neves has gone and he's picking up. He's secured the bag in Saudi. Jota went to Liverpool. Cunha's gone to Man United. Aït-Nouri's gone to Man City. Núñez went to Man City after an absolute garbage season for us.
Neto's gone to Chelsea.
Yeah. So
that's the project though now, Joe. That's what they're selling to people. They're not saying, look where we're going as a club. They're saying, look where you could go as an individual. That's the only way they can entice players, which is crap for us as a club.
And this is the difference, that players are coming in now with that preconceived idea of, which those players didn't. They thought we'd have 3 years. We were in Europe. We're fighting. We're going to be at top half of the league. Whereas now it's, we're going to be in the bottom half of the league. We're going to be battling relegation, but I'm playing in the shop window permanently for a move. And that's where I can't judge them for that. Of course you're going to do that. If someone says to you, we're going to pay you 80 grand a week to come and sit on the bench for the Wolves if you're Tolo or Rocadare. You're coming from Club Brugge, or you're coming from Genk, you're coming from Belgium. You're coming from playing Champions League football or playing European football at a decent level, probably starting for your country moving forward on 20 grand a week. To move into the Premier League, you'll start games in the Cup, you'll come and get 20 minutes in the league, but even just by being around that squad, you'll get a move, and you'll retain that wage that you're on, and you'll push your career north. We don't have that now. We don't have that player that can think, I want to get this club from A to B. And I do think genuinely players like Joe Gomez and Andre, they have that view of their head. Well, I might be here for 2 years. I'll do my very, very best. I don't think they're ever going into games thinking they're going to give anything other than their best. Obviously, they had a shit game yesterday, shit against Leeds, but they're not doing that intentionally. They're just having bad games, which players have, especially when you're part of this team. But they've always got that thing at the back of their mind, especially Andre. Andre's going to go and play for... Andre will be playing Champions League quarter-final, semi-finals within 2 years. That's just, look at Vitinha. That he's of that level. Andre is in his position relative to other players who play that position. He will go and be playing in Champions League semi-finals. He'll be playing at that level. Same for Joe Gomez, I would say. Maybe not to the same degree, but he's going to be playing for a top 6 Premier League team or a top 6, team in Europe somewhere. Whereas the consistent decrease of level of player that we sign and play, we talk about Cunha, we're all openly sat here, and all Wolves fans that are saying, we never expected the club to replace Cunha with someone of the level of Cunha. Why? Why not? We only signed him 2 years ago. It's not like we picked him up from the dregs of football. He was registered to Atletico Madrid, and he come to play for Wolves because we put the money down and we've signed him. In the same way, Brentford will go and sign a player for 50 million quid if they think he's the right player. Whereas the self-sustainable model has killed us, and it'll continue to kill us. It'll take us down to the Championship. It'll be this season, in my opinion. I think everyone knows I'm fairly optimistic about the Wolves. And the last 2 or 3 years, going into Christmas, before we've replaced managers, I've said on this podcast, I don't think we're going down. I think there's worse teams than us. That's absolutely not the case this season. I don't think it's down to personnel, but as George says, the cloud around the club, the negativity, you only have to go to an home game to feel this is completely different to what it's been like. I remember Ipswich last season with Gary O'Neill. Our Ipswich moment was 3-4 weeks ago against Leeds at home, and we're still sat here talking about it. So we've gone way beyond that point to me. I don't think Gary O'Neill's a great manager at all. The fact that he's not got another job would support that. He's still sat on his arse, doing interviews with the coach's voice rather than actually managing a club. But, this is the worst it's been. I don't think this is the worst the squad's been. But obviously we've had those talented players, the Ait-Nouris, the Cunhas, the Netos in the last few years who'll get us out of trouble. We don't really have that now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Leading on to next week, though. For Vitor Pereira, for Wolves as a club, it's a must-win game against Burnley. But like you guys have already said, it's not going to be easy. Burnley even they've won 2 games, 1 draw, 5 defeats in their 8 games. They're sat just outside the drop zone. But they'll go, if they beat us next week, they'll go 8 points clear of us. Burnley will. And I mean, you look at some of their matches. Obviously, like you mentioned, they beat Leeds, but even games like they were smashed against City, but they've been picking up points. I think Liverpool, they made really, Liverpool grabbed the late goal against them. Mm-hmm. They're giving Manchester United a really good game. Villa, they're giving teams good games. Like you said, they beat Sunderland earlier on in the campaign as well. They're beating teams that we can't beat. So it's going to be a tough game. Jord, for you, I mean, yes, there's probably going to be an element of papering over the cracks a little bit, but we need to see a massive reaction next week, don't we?
Yeah, no, we do. But I think everyone's culpable of that as well. And I think actually the problem is the team and the ownership have lost the fans. So if you want it, like next week should be raucous, really, because it's a massive game for us. It should be pumping. But I'm telling you, 5 minutes before kickoff, it'd be like a fucking morgue in there in the game.
On Sunday as well.
Yeah, they'll play Fields of Gold, and again, I know the sentiment behind it. Just get rid of it. They're playing Those Were the Days at fucking half tempo speed. Get rid of that. Like I was at the Brighton game.
Loved a bit of Elvis yesterday, by the way. Sunderland.
Mate, I was like, what?
That's what they wanted to do. That's what Sunderland wanted. Wolves wanted Fields of Gold to be like though. Like Can't Help Falling in Love with You is a slower song, but everyone knows it, and everyone can sing.
Everyone knows the words, yeah.
Yeah, but
everyone knows the words.
No one knows the words.
So again, They're not going to play the Liquidator. That's fine, but you can build an atmosphere with like a different song. Like I was listening to. I was when I went to the NFL a few weeks ago in Dublin. Like they're playing the Cranberry Zombie, and the whole stadium was going mad. But imagine playing that before walking out. That like the crowd could sing, and it doesn't necessarily need to be an up tempo song to get the crowd going.
Can't get that geezer in the Steve Ball with his decks on again with the light show.
That was good, wasn't it?
Johnny Wilkes or whatever he was called. James, I don't know what he was called. Get him
Johnny
DJ.
Wilkes, Robbie Williams, mate.
It was something like Johnny Wilkes. I know at the time I said Robbie Williams, mate, it's DJ, but it was a different. I'm sure it was Johnny Wilkes. But
that was class. That was, to be fair.
Yeah, but it's so. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be like a morgue, and it should be pumping next week. And it's going to be terrible from the fans, but that's because the owners and what's been served up is a pile of shite. To be honest with you, so Burnley for me, I watched them a couple of times this season, and I didn't watch a lot of them in the Championship last year, but I know they conceded something stupid like 12, 13 goals, didn't they?
They were very good defensively. Yeah.
they were very good defensively. And the 2 games they won at home against Sunderland and Leeds, they've won comfortably, because I would still say they're upper level Championship sides, like mediocre Premier League sides, but which have gone and beat. But it's because they've got in the lead and they've just defensively been brilliant. The Liverpool game, I remember watching it on the Sunday, and it was it was handball when it got 90 odd minutes, and like they defended really, really well. I'm telling you now, I can tell you the script already. They will score within the first 10 minutes, and we will create jack shit.
They're 3-1 to win next week. That is absolutely incredible value.
3-1.
3-1. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds interesting.
They're 3-1. Yeah.
Be gamble aware, but there's no way they're 3-1. I'm telling you now, if they take the lead, we are not scoring. We've got to literally take the game to them, try and play on the front foot, and just try and batter them. And I know that sounds like I'm deluded, but that's actually what we've got to do. Play on the front foot.
Like we did against Tottenham. Exactly how we played against Tottenham.
Even Brighton, to some extent, in the first half. Get on the front foot, but don't retract. Stay on the front foot, because we can't keep a clean sheet, save our life. And again, I don't want to sound like Yadar or a pub manager, but the best way to defend is get the ball fucking 60 yards away from goal. Let's play in their half.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you there, when you're talking about direction of a manager, like if Sean Dyche was manager of Wolves, which would be a dream appointment right now,
do you know
he'd
what?
play 4-4-2.
He'd
play 4-4-2.
Yeah. Get him in.
It would be difficult to beat, but if you're asking Dave like what the 11's going to be on the weekend,
it'll be the same as yesterday.
Mate, it'll be like a Tombola at Compton.
Back.
You couldn't. I don't think I could tell you with any confidence outside of Krejci, Joe Gomez. I think those are the only 2 that I could say are definitely going to start. I think the rest
John
of them,
Larson.
We'll see. See how his Achilles feeling. Big baby.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll move on to the questions now as well, because there's probably one major elephant in the room that we've not spoke about, which I'll
That's a bit harsh. She's right here, Dave.
Say again.
No, to call him that.
No, I was going to say Matt Cooper left the podcast 6 months ago.
As well, obviously, Betmate as well. You can see if you were listening, the QR code, or if you're watching on YouTube, the QR code's on the screen, or a link in the description if you're listening to get involved in the Betmate pot. So there will be a 2 p.m. I think we play Burnley Sunday 2 p.m. So there'll be some special pots for that on Sunday if you want to get involved with that, and any of the other fixtures during the week as well. I mean, loads of questions about Vitor and his future at the football club, but we'll start off with a light-hearted one. HP77 says favourite biscuit.
Ooh.
That's one you normally end the podcast on, isn't it? I suppose, but
no, I think we needed that. To be fair,
yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, we needed a little break. Yeah,
good show. Favourite biscuit, but I like a bourbon.
I was about to say bourbon. Very solid choice.
I'm a bit boring. I like a digestive.
Chocolate or like standard?
Like either, to be honest.
Chocolate digestive. Hobnob as well. Decent.
Not a fan of hobnobs. Get your teeth. No.
I think what else is that? I could eat loads of biscuits. I could have anything.
Are you looking for a brand partnership here?
There you go. McVitie's want to knock on the door and get involved. Give me a family circle.
I love how you went straight to McVitie's. Yeah, straight to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mitch Davis, he looks at his bench at 1-0 down, no subs made as of yet, and the question is, Kiana Hoover, why?
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
The only thing I could think at the time was that Sunderland was sitting so deep, are you going to be able to utilise Jackson Chichua's pace? But then he brought him on 10 minutes later anyway.
I wouldn't mind, but he was absolutely tough when he come on.
Yeah.
Like he did nothing. So that was like... And we've seen this with managers before. When their head starts to go, it's the subs that you see that start to kind of crystallise. And if you're going to bring Chichua on, this is my issue with Gomez, with Rodrigo Gomez as well. If you want Rodrigo Gomez on the pitch, you play a 5. He's a wing back in a 5. That's his position. He likes to pick the ball up deep, get ahead of steam, and then culminates with a ball in the box or a pass or whatever it might be. These players can't start high up the pitch. It's just not how they play. Jackson Chichua, why? If you've got a pitch that's 120 metres long or whatever it is, why start him 80 metres up the pitch where he can't do anything with, he can't get on the end of anything. And to be fair, he got on the end of the chance, but he's not supposed to be there. He's not supposed to be getting on the end of flick-ons from Strand Larson, is he? So the Keanu Hoover one is, and I'm not a Keanu Hoover hater at all. I think he's a decent enough backup right back in the Premier League, and I think that's what he is. He should not be coming on in the game state like it is there.
Yeah. But the problem was yesterday, though, as well, to add to that, is he looks at his bench. He's got a goalie, 6 defenders,
12 centre-backs.
Fer Lopez, who you don't trust. You don't trust him. And then Tolu, who he only seems to want to play him or bring him on when he's chasing a football game.
But then the immediately fans will point the finger at Fosun, but arguably, once again, like I said earlier, who would have been in charge of the recruitment this summer? It would have been Tete.
Yeah, no, that was Tete and Vitor, but the thing is, though, again, it comes down to, like I said, about his captain choice that he's changed 4 games in.
Formation as well.
He's been here and he's played a back 5. He's signed players for a back 5 and now he's playing a back 4. And I said a few weeks ago on here that I think he needs to play a back 4 because of to get the most out of your attacking players, i.e. Fer Lopez, John Arias, to be able to be a bit more impactful on the pitch. But then when you have a couple of injuries, Bellegarde and Wang, you're like, well, you just got defenders. And Mosquera wasn't on the bench yesterday either. So that's another one that can't make the squad.
Do you know what I find odd? That the subs is important, but obviously the squad as a whole. If you look at Sunderland's team yesterday, a team that we should be fighting with, if not beating. Trey Hume at the youth team, Chris Rigg youth team. Dan Ballard was at Arsenal, but obviously he's been there for a long time. He's been there for a few years. And the lad on the bench for Dan Neil through the youth team. Got 3 players that impacted the match there, all positively, who've been developed through the club. And we had, off the top of my head, I don't think anybody who's come through the club.
Other than Doc, you could say, but again, we signed him quite late.
Well, we just rinsed him from Shelbourne or whatever it was, somewhere in Ireland. So that Bohemians, and that's where people talk about depth. If you look across squads in the Premier League, you'll have 3 or 4 players in the squad that have come through, which obviously takes a bit of the edge off the recruitment element of it. So someone like Matheus Mane should be on the bench yesterday. There's absolutely no reason why he's not on the bench yesterday. He offers something completely different to what anybody else in the squad can offer. He's quick. He can finish. He's probably not at the level of a Premier League centre forward or Premier League forward. Fine, not a problem. Would you say Dan Neil's a Premier League quality? Absolutely not. But he's come on and he's done the job. So that's where that gap that we need to be making up with players that have been developed and coming through, and that's on Fosun. I think there's a degree where Vitor could be a bit more just chuck them in, which to me we're at the stage of chucking players in, not necessarily of a Leon Chuomi, Tawanda Chiro 2023 scenario.
I actually take those times back. You take those chances for granted.
I wouldn't. Nathan Fraser starting up front of the Premier League.
We're in a better position than we are now, though.
Yeah, but that comes down to you use your squad, don't you?
Yeah.
If you've got 2 options to play centre forward, they're both exactly the same. They're both big lumps who are all right with the ball, but you have to play to their strengths. We've got no wingers in the squad because we're looking to hold them all. And then if you further point to that is if you're a winger coming through the youth team at Wolves, what are you thinking? Where am I going to play? We don't play with wingers anymore.
Leaving the academy and the structure and it's non-existent.
Yeah, so we've created it ourselves as a club. And that's the problem. And you've got teams like Sunderland who've got, Chris Rigg's a talented lad, but Trey Hume's okay. We were linked with him. Wolves fans were kind of like, that's not really very exciting, but he improves our team.
Yeah.
So it's a worry, isn't it? The subs will only continue to get worse. That this is the issue because he's gone into this. I feel with Vitor, he's gone into almost like a siege mentality now, where he's going to do exactly what he wants to do. He started Fer Lopez against Leeds. He wasn't great, therefore you don't see him before games.
Yeah.
And when you spent 15 million quid on him in the summer-ish, 20 million quid, that ain't good enough. You don't just drop players out the team just because they've had a bad half. I think he got hooked at half time, didn't he, that game?
Yeah.
But I think when you talk about that siege mentality, Joe, like what I'm surprised about at the moment is he's obviously had it was his first proper window in the summer, let's be honest. So Because I think the January just gone, he'd come in late to it. This is actually where he's at Tetty behind the scenes, and it's all his plans and stuff. Like, if it's siege mentality from Vitor Pereira, I'm surprised he hasn't at the moment, or he hasn't yet reverted to just going, you know what, I signed these players. These are the players I believed in the summer and even in January, and gone, I'm going to stick them all on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because then it's showing then that actually my players aren't the problem. My recruitment's not the problem. But the reality is, as we know, the players that have come in on the whole haven't been good enough.
I think that's part of it. I don't. I've just been talking about Dan Neil and Chris Rigg and these players. All the players that we've signed are of an equivalent level to players like that. We've signed Jackson Chachura, who's a good player. David Moller-Wolf, don't know what the fuck's happened to him. Good player. We've killed him this season. From a confidence, we're talking about players on the pitch who've been killed with confidence. Imagine how he's feeling. He can't even get in this shower of shit. So you've got him. Obviously, Tolu, 25 goal a season striker in Belgium. Can't really get a kick. He's like a desperation tactic now. John Arias, we're using him like a fucking right wing back. More defensive actions than any offensive player in the entire top 5 leagues. So, which I think is a factor as well. So, the recruitment can be brilliant in January, but if you're going to go and sign, I don't know, Marco Asensio and play him as a 6, then there's no point. There's no point spending the money. You might as well go down. Because there's no point going and spunking all that money in January for Vitor just to play them out of position or decide they were shit in training on Thursday, so they're going to be at the team for 2 weeks, which is obviously what's happening. You're seeing players just drop in and drop out, and obviously resort to players like Wang, which gets a lot of stick, but he's consistent in the fact that he's shit all the time. So you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
So he's obviously shit in training and he's shit in a match. I know what I'm going to get. So this is the issue. Players are up and down. Confidence is a massive factor. It's got to be. Looking at the players on the pitch yesterday, they just look like, what the fuck's going on here? And as George says, they're largely to blame for that. They're not blameless.
I think the style of play, I think they look just knackered as well after about half an hour sometimes. They're like, I just don't think, I don't know, it just needs something a bit more front-footed, I think. You got so many different... Go on, George, sorry.
No, sorry, Dave, I was going to say, but they're knackered because when we have eked out a lead or we are in front in a game, we revert to just, right, we're just going to sit in now. We're going to chase shadows for 60 minutes or 45 minutes and just sit in. So you are going to be knackered because the players we've got in the squad, albeit to a lesser technical level of squads we've had previously, as we said, they're still good enough to like Leeds at home. They're still good enough to dominate that game, or they're still good enough to, actually be on the front foot. Like we were doing against Brighton. Again, go back to Brighton. We were doing that against Brighton until he took Kwang off for Agbadu, and then all of a sudden we've shit the bed. And then Agbadu was doing his best to cock it up in that game. Then brought Moller-Wolf on, and Moller-Wolf, AZ Alkmaar loved him. They said he was better than the fans were saying he was better than Kirkes. He come on the pitch against Brighton, and he looked like a competition winner. He was looking around. He was turning, doing 360 turns, going, "Am I meant to be here? Am I meant to be here?" So they just need to simplify it. And again, like I said, at Brexit football, if a Sean Dyche type come in, he would go, right, we're playing 4-4-2. This is what you're doing, and we're going to be horrible to play against. I think that's what Vita's trying to do. But I think he's brought players into the profile to be horrible to play against, but they're all spineless.
I think part of it is we're not signing players who are used to winning either. I was looking at Krejci's record. He's obviously a really talented player. But if you look at his record in kind of the last 10, 15 games, Wolves or at Girona, loss, draw, loss, 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 loss. He's not won a game for about 6 months. The same as us. We're not bringing players in who are like able to take control of a situation because they don't know how to win themselves, and that's where if you've got someone like David Moller-Wolf who is generally used to winning, he's coming from a decent team playing in Europe, they should be elevating the squad, similar to Hugo Bueno in a way. Obviously, he was in and out last season, but he was part of a team that was winning and that was consistent. So these players, it's also incumbent on them to a degree to drag the other players along. And I I think once players spend 2 years at Wolves now, it's kind of like, well, yeah, we only win one game every 3 anyway, so it is what it is. Whereas players like Cunha still get slagged off now. Neto still gets slagged off now, but they were winners. They'll always be winners. And Cunha will be doing the same at Man United now. He'll be trying to drag them along, and a lot of the stuff that Cunha did last season, it's got to be out of frustration for just being part of that shower. So, he's trying to be a focal point, and he got us out of so many problems last season. And Agbadou was the same when he came in, dragged us along, and he's fell off a bit this season, which I think he has, but I think his fall off's been dramatically kind of over exaggerated. I think he's had some bad games, he's had some poor games, but name me a player in this squad that's not having bad games.
Yeah. Because if I'm Vitor, sorry Dave, if I'm Vitor now and I'm looking to play in a back four next week to save my job, as good as Santi Breno's been, I think in the last few games that he's come in, if I'm playing a back two, like a back four, I'm playing Agbadou and Krejci on the basis of what Agbadou showed me for 6 months in his Wolves career. I think that
if you've got a game to save your job, I agree. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you've got a game to save your job, I think you put them two next to each other, and then at least then you're sort of going out on your shield a little bit and going, well, I brought Agbadou and he was great for me. I trusted him for the most part of last season. Krejci's been, well, he's been a bit of a Rolls Royce since he's come into the team, but I think, like you say, like you said there, Joe, like he's used to losing. I mean, even in the international break, they've gone to Czech Republic, gone and lost to the Faroe Islands. So as good as we're saying Krejci is,
Faroe Islands all right, by the way. They're on a bit of a run at the moment.
Did you know you can fit the entire population of the Faroe Islands inside the Emirates?
There you
go.
But, for you.
But what the point I'm trying to get at is like, as good as we think he is, and I know it's a team game. Like, there's a reason why he's part of losing teams as well.
That's what he's playing for us.
And there's fans saying he should be our captain, he should be the leader on the pitch. And again, I don't necessarily disagree. I think he's shown leadership attributes whilst he's been on the pitch. He looks like he gives a shit, and I think he has, on the whole, looked good. So I might be being a bit harsh on it. Yeah, but if you installed him as captain of a chap who's used to losing, that's not going to spread positivity around the place either, is it?
No. If we go down, by the way, he's not staying, because although we've got the obligation thing, I bet it's if we stay in the Premier League.
Dave, none of them staying. This is the thing, and maybe we'll get onto the ownership in a bit. I'm not sure if there's any questions about it, but like, they aren't arse now. If we go down, we will rot. I was speaking to one of my mates yesterday, who's a Coventry fan, and I said to him, like, we could be the next Blackburn. Like, in terms, out of the events, they'll just retreat. They'll retreat.
That's
they won't sell the club because
go down. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, we'll go down. It'll be fine." It won't.
It won't be fine guarantee. Because they want 400 million quid for this club. Then they're getting a tenth of that if we're in the Championship. And a lot of these players we've got in the squad as well, like, all of a sudden their value diminishes because they're on big wages. Clubs know we need to offload them and offset them. So, like, Strand Larsen, 6 million quid might become 30 million quid, or we'll end up doing like loan to buy deals because we've got to get them off the wage budget. So then, when you talk about a self-sufficient, self-sustaining model, there won't be. I don't think the transfer values will be coming in for us to go and rebuild the squad.
No.
So it's like, it is imperative to stay in this league, because with the owners in place, it will diminish, and that's my fear, really. I think we're in.
It's mad because we could be having this conversation right now if we got the Spurs and Brighton games and held on. We could be on 6 points. Arguably, could have had a result. With the momentum, could have got something yesterday. We could be outside the bottom three. I know it's all.
Well, even yesterday, we win that game. We go above Forest, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's all if buts and maybes. But I think in terms of, the fine margins, but ultimately it's Vitor Pereira's job to make sure we see out the game against Spurs, to make sure we see out the game against Brighton. I think if you win those two and you hold on, mood's completely different. You've got the momentum going in, and even if you end up dropping points yesterday, you still fancy yourself again next week, which I don't think many Wolves fans do fancy ourselves next week. Now.
I don't. But the only saving grace again is we've got 30 games left, right? And that's also sounds like a real cruel punishment that we've got 30 games of this to endure. But, like, realistically, the last few seasons, 30 to 32 points has kept you in the league. So if you're again, maybe I'm being too optimistic here, and things have to change for this to happen. But do I think the squad is capable of getting 30 points out of 30 games? I think they could, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got to change quick. And again, I think this is the year we go down. I think we're in dire straits, but there's still enough time in the season to turn it round
for sure.
So it's not all lost, but I think, again, it pains me to say it because I backed him and I like him. I don't think if Vitor Pereira is in charge for another 4 games, I think we're
0 points.
Yeah, because I think the logical, I mean, you would say maybe the logical sort of window to replace him would be the international break, but I think it's going to have to be, if they're going to make a change, it's going to have to be earlier than that to give whoever is in charge maybe a little bit of time to, to get his ideas in before the international break even begins. And that's the final question I'll ask. I mean, you don't want to sort of wish a sacking upon any manager, but it looks like it might be going that way for Vitor Pereira. Things change, and pretty much a good 75-8% of our questions were about his position. Do we think he should be sacked? And if anyone who would come in charge, I think he gets until next week. I think if for whatever reason Wolves lose that game, I think the atmosphere, unfortunately I'm not there at Molineux next week, but the atmosphere will be that toxic.
Say unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd love to be there, or maybe fortunately. Yeah. No, I'd love being. I'd want to see what happens if the defeat. I mean, I wouldn't want to see it on the pitch, but sort of off the pitch what happens. But I assume it'll be toxic, and there'll be so much pressure on him going into. I think it's Fulham, who are having a little bit of a bad spell themselves at the moment as well. Yeah. So, Joe, what do you think? Does he get? Well, I think he'll get next week. Do you think Fosun will give him even longer than that? Or?
I think they will, on the basis they've given him 3-year contracts. Yeah, and people say, and everyone says it. You don't want to see a manager lose his job. Have a 3-year contract paid up. Give me that.
Apparently, I read again. I think on the Mail they put something out the other day, and apparently the package, like the compensation package, isn't much different now to what it would have been if we sacked him before the deal. So I don't know if there's some sort of clause or pre-agreed
thing. Well, the fact that they've leaked that would suggest that they're obviously thinking about it, because I think that was the Tom Colomos piece, wasn't it? So yeah, if the club are soft landing the fact that, well, just so you know, he has got a 3-year contract, but then obviously the writing's on the wall. But personally, I would sack him, and I've got no issue with saying that. I said it for Gary O'Neill. The issue isn't in sacking him. The issue is in replacing him, and I don't see anyone inspirational who's going to come in and kind of give us a long-term project again. Which again, Vitor Pereira wasn't that when he came in. He was probably going to be a 12-18 month option, which makes a 3-year deal look even stranger. But you're looking at a Dyche, aren't you? Which I never thought I'd get to that.
And he might be going to Forest as well, at this rate.
Well, I saw Forest looking to trigger Marco Silva's release clause this morning. But I hope we don't. Yeah, we might as well just go all out and go Big Ange. Get Big Ange in. He always wins a trophy in his second season. He could get the championship trophy next season.
I like Ange. I do. I just don't know, man.
I like him. I won't want him managing the club because we'd get beat 12-0 every week.
I'd imagine the Wolves social
media.
He's
won one Premier League game in 20 as a manager, which is
nearly as much
quite incredible, really.
Nearly as much as Vitor Pereira, yeah.
Yeah, that makes Vitor Pereira look like, Wunderlich Luxemburger. That's known for you.
Yeah, Jord, I mean, what's your take on it, Jord?
I think I'm at a point where I think he needs to go. And that pains me to say it because there's definitely tweets out there where I've given him some loving, which was rightly so at the time as well. So I am disappointed this happened. I think you're going to have 2 problems, though, if you get rid of him. Is, first of all, who's going to want to come to Wolves, knowing that it's probably a firefighter job for 12, 18 months, and this cycle will go again, and then I'm probably going to lose my job. So someone like, for example, Danny Roll, who's out of work, who is a young up-and-coming manager, he would probably look at it and go, I've got no longevity at that club. So, they can say there's a 3-5 year plan, but the plan that every manager that's come to Wolves with a plan, the plan's unwinded very quickly and unravelled because they haven't backed the manager the way the manager's been told who's going to get backed. Like, someone always get linked with is that the Bodo Glimt manager in it, Knudsen or whatever. They're in the Champions League at the moment. His stock's as high as it's ever been. Like, he'd probably look at a Premier League job, and go, "Oh, I fancy that," But looking at where we are right now, that ain't going to happen. So I think realistically, we would be the only managers in an ideal world. Again, I'm the same as Joe. I can't believe I'm saying it would be Sean Dyche, but I think he's a Forest fan and he'll want the Forest job. But can you imagine for Sean Dyche working with Jeff Shee and all? Like, he was going to want to do it his way or the highway.
He's not a long-term appointment either for me.
No.
Yeah, but he's going to want to do it his way.
Give you a big shout of staying in the Premier League.
I'm telling you now, again, as ugly as
they get him in, we don't go down. Simple as that.
Yeah, we don't go down. Yeah, we do not go down. But like, I was clamouring for Moyes like before Pereira come in, and people were saying, "Oh, we don't want that dinosaur come in." But look what Moyes has done at Everton. Like, I'd kill to be fucking Everton at the minute. The amount of creative players he's got, because the whole thing was, oh well, he plays a dinosaur, plays a certain way. I'd love to watch Illiman and Dye and Jack Grealish and Dewsbury Hall and Dibbling and all these players every week in, week out, because it's better than what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The problem is, Dave, I generally think, like, if we get rid of him, the only managers that want to come to Wolves will be managers that are out of a gig or out of favour right now. And I think you're looking at someone completely left field. Like, you'll see, like, Rafa Benitez will chuck his name in that. You might see... it'll be these sort of managers that'll chuck the name in that, because there's no manager worth the weight in gold or on an upward trajectory that want to come and join this club right now.
Just looking at the managers now, I'll tell you straight away who I think it'll be. If he goes, it'll be, I reckon, Vitor Bruno, who he was in charge of Porto until January and he got sacked. The only issue with that is very Bruno Lage-esque CV, where you look at it where he's been an assistant manager everywhere until he got that job. I'm looking at it. Adi Hutter.
Adolf Hitler.
he can't manage Wolves just because.
Bruno Lage, give him a shout. Sean Dyche,
Gary O'Neill.
Gary O'Neill. Ten Hag.
Honestly, if Gary O'Neill. Ten Hag.
Ange. Don't tell Gully.
Xavi.
I'll tell him.
Gareth Southgate. Anyone? No. Yeah, I mean, this is the issue. I think you end up knocking on the door to like Rob Edwards or something. I think it screams Rob Edwards as well.
Oh, I know that was always going to happen as well, but I know how well he's doing with Borough at the minute as well. It don't give you.
He's got a good side though. He's got a very good side.
If we played them on the weekend, that'd hammer us.
Yeah, we should go for complete meltdown. Russell Martin.
Oh man, I think that's probably enough for the podcast, isn't it? I was just looking at some of the managers. I saw a few people mention Hassan Hüttl as well. I forgot he was. I
liked him before he went to Southampton, but it didn't do him any favours at Southampton, did it?
No.
And again, like Ange, I thought he was really unfairly sacked in the summer. But whatever's gone on at Forest in these 39 days, there'll be movies about it, because I don't know how it's gone that bad, that quick.
Yeah, they are shite as well.
Well,
they've got a good side as well.
I'm just looking, he never managed club level, actually. That Rui Jorge, he used to be Portugal 21's manager. I'm just looking at Portuguese managers at this rate as well.
Alex McLeish.
McLeish. Right, that's all. Otherwise, we're just going to be... Sounds... Yeah, anyway. Guys, thanks a lot for listening. Hopefully, we've vented a little bit, and we'll be back. Next week's going to be a little bit of a strange one, as I think a few of us are away. So we may try and do a pod, but it'll probably be later on in the week. Who knows? We may have some manager news, so we'll try our best to keep you up to date on that as much as we can. Jord, thanks for jumping on again. Where can people find you if they wish?
At JordRuss7 on Twitter and Instagram.
Brilliant. Joe, what about you?
At Concept Skating on Twitter and Instagram.
Brilliant. I'm at David's a Party everywhere. We're at Talking Wolves everywhere as well. If you want to keep up to date with all the latest Wolves news and potentially rumours if there is a manager change imminent. As always, if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating. But until next week, guys, fingers crossed it is a positive result for Wolves next week. But yeah, we'll catch you on the next podcast.